Stitches took over the internet back in 2014 with his viral hit, Brick in Your Face. Fans thought he was the hardest rapper of all time, but after he blew up, Stitches had trouble keeping up the image and quickly fell off. From knocking out his high school principal to getting knocked out by the game's manager, this is the sad downfall of Stitches. Stitches was born and raised in Miami, Florida. Stitches' family was Greek and Cuban, and his parents, Esther and Alexander, got divorced when he was only a year old. The divorce was pretty bad, and Stitches' mom even had to get a restraining order against his dad. Stitches' dad, Alex, was a deadbeat and didn't pay any child support, even though he was rich and lived in a $2 million home. Stitches' mom remarried twice after getting divorced from her first husband and raised Stitches and his two brothers in a suburb of Miami called Kendall. But according to Stitches, he was in the streets at a young age and met cocaine at 11 years old. In an interview with ESPN Miami, Stitches claims that he spent a lot of time in jail when he was a teenager and got arrested at least 10 times before he blew up off his hit, Brick in Your Face. But he refused to talk about what he was arrested for or go into any detail. At 14, Stitches left his mom's house and moved to South Beach with some older women he was sleeping with. Stitches was selling cocaine and living the rapper lifestyle at a young age, renting penthouses and driving foreign cars. But he also kept going back and forth to jail. According to Stitches, every time he got locked up, it wasn't because of something he did. It was because someone told on him. That's when Stitches really started to develop a deep hate for anyone who was snitching. So when he was 16, Stitches decided to get a tattoo of Stitches on both sides of his mouth to let everyone know what would happen if they snitched on him. By that point, Stitches had already dropped out of high school. Stitches says he got expelled during his freshman year because he punched his principal in the face. Even back then, Stitches had dreams of becoming a famous rapper, but his principal didn't believe in him. According to Stitches, the first week of school, his principal told him, "You think you're gonna be the next Lil Wayne, but you ain't gonna be shit." So Stitches punched him in the face and never went back to school. But that's where Stitches' story starts to get suspicious. He said in interviews that he really lived the life he talks about in his music, and there's nothing fake about his come-up story. But according to his old principal, he was never punched in the face. Manuel Garcia, the principal of Braddock High School, told the Miami New Times that he remembers Stitches and confirms he went to school there. But according to the old principal, Manuel, he was never punched in the face, and the Stitches story was totally made up. After dropping out of high school, Stitches went all in on selling cocaine and making music. At the time, he was rapping under the name Lil Phil. As Lil Phil, he started building a buzz in the Miami area by going around to different high schools and battling other local rappers. But Stitches knew that if he wanted to go viral, he needed an image that would set him apart. First, he got the Stitches mouth tattoo. Then at 17, he also got a tattoo of an AK-47 on his face. Around that time, he decided to drop the name Lil Phil and just go by Stitches. He dropped a few tracks under the name Stitches, but they didn't get much attention. So, Stitches decided to spend his last $5,000 to premiere his new song, Brick in Your Face, on World Star Hip Hop. Stitches dropped Brick in Your Face on World Star April 30th, 2014. At the time, he was completely unknown and only identified in the video as an 18-year-old unsigned Miami artist. The video had all the ingredients for a viral hit. Stitches had the crazy face tattoos way before the SoundCloud rap wave made it popular. Plus, Stitches was screaming all over the beat and had a ton of hilarious and quotable bars like, "Out in Dade County, anything goes. Always at the scene with some blood on my clothes. Then I go sell coke to your hoe. Sorry if you didn't know that your girl loved my blow. One hit, now the girl on the pole. I love selling blow." He was also carrying a huge gun and had a wild crew with him, including a dude in a Hellraiser mask, busting open a kilo of cocaine and throwing it in the air. The video was insanely hard, but also funny at the same time, and quickly caught people's attention. The Brick in Your Face video got over 6 million views in less than a week. No one had ever seen anything like it, and suddenly everyone wanted to know more about Stitches. Fans were calling Stitches the White Gucci Mane, and every hip-hop outlet wanted to interview him. When he finally did an interview, Stitches claimed that his past as a cocaine kingpin was 100% legit, but he didn't have much evidence to back up his story, and his criminal record only showed one arrest when he was 16. Stitches refused to talk much about his past as a drug dealer, but he promised his fans that he was the real deal. Only a few days after Stitches blew up, he dropped his first mixtape, No Snitching Is My Statement. Stitches kept his buzz up by releasing singles like I'm Just a Gangsta and Facts, but none of his new tracks lived up to the hype of Brick in Your Face. Stitches must have realized he needed to get people's attention if he wanted to go viral again. So, on the song Facts, Stitches randomly dissed Young Jeezy. In the video, some of his homies can be seen holding up signs that say RIP Young Jeezy. Stitches also disses Jeezy on the song, rapping, "Fuck Young Jeezy, I'm the real fucking snowman. Big Meech went up in prison and you went ghost, man." It's not clear if they had any real beef or if Stitches was just dissing Jeezy for attention. Jeezy didn't respond, so Facts didn't get as much of a buzz as Brick in Your Face did. Even though Stitches had a massive hit right away, it was all pretty much downhill from there for his music career. At his first show in Lake Worth, Florida, Stitches was giving out cocaine to people in the audience. Stitches then turned on the crowd and threatened to knock out anyone who got on the stage. But he also let some random girls come up and do coke with him while they were filming. At the time, Stitches was married to a woman named Erica Durante who was at the show that night. Erica started freaking out when she saw Stitches doing drugs with other women and started screaming at him from the crowd. Erica then went up to the stage and slapped Stitches in the face, forcing him to end the show early. Stitches was supposed to do a meet and greet after the show, but he dipped early, leaving his fans disappointed. Some fans were even complaining that Stitches was only giving out flour but pretending it was cocaine. So right away, Stitches' career was off to a rough start. Fans were also starting to question if his image was even real or if it was all an act for the internet. Rumors started going around that Stitches wore fake jewelry at his shows and that he was capping about being a drug lord. A club promoter and jewelry store owner in New York told the Miami New Times that Stitches was a fraud who was abusing his viral fame. A dude from Miami Gardens named Roel Luciano also claimed that he stopped being a fan of Stitches after he realized he was tricking his fans for clout. Stitches had posted a video where he pretended he was throwing a gold chain out of his car while driving down the highway in Miami. Roel went to look for the chain about 20 minutes later and found it in the middle of the road. A few days later, Roel took the chain to a pawn shop and they told him it was fake and worth nothing. And when Roel called Stitches out over the fake chain on Instagram, Stitches blocked him immediately. Fake Watchbusters, an Instagram account that busts celebrities for wearing fake watches, also exposed Stitches for wearing a fake Audemars Piguet watch. Then, Stitches was also exposed for fake flexing with a Maserati. Stitches posted a photo of a Maserati to his Instagram and wrote, "How you like my new toy?" But when reporters talked to the car dealership, they said Stitches was only taking the Maserati for a test drive and didn't buy the car because he didn't have the money for the down payment. If all that wasn't bad enough, Stitches was also exposed for pretending to give a fan $10,000, then taking it right back. Stitches had posted a clip to his Instagram giving a stack of $100 bills to a fan named Melissa Jackson. In the clip, Melissa hugged Stitches and thanked him for the cash. The video had tons of comments saying how nice and generous Stitches was, but according to Melissa, it was all fake and she never actually got the money. Melissa had a friend who knew Stitches, so they arranged to do the giveaway. But once the camera stopped rolling, Stitches took back the money and only gave Melissa $100. So, Stitches was quickly getting a reputation as a scammer and a fraud. It also didn't help that none of his music was getting as much attention as Brick in Your Face. Stitches kept dropping bangers like Kilos in My Bag and Selling Too Much Yayo. He even had a minor comeback with the song Molly Cyrus, which is his second most popular song and has over 30 million views on YouTube. But Stitches knew that if he wanted to keep going viral, he had to start a beef. So after his Jeezy diss didn't work out, Stitches found a new target, Tyga. At the time, Tyga was making headlines for his relationship with Kylie Jenner. So Stitches teamed up with another rapper named Ink Monster to make a Tyga diss track where they both claimed they smashed Kylie Jenner. The song was called Kyga, She's a Liar, and it was full of wild bars about Kylie and Tyga. On the song, Stitches rapped, "They call me Mr. Steal Your Bitch, if you didn't know. Kylie Jenner, Miley Cyrus, cocaine in they booty hole. And you know my nigga Ink hit it raw, you pussy nigga. And you know I got them hands, so you better pull the trigger." Ink Monster later posted a pic he took with Kylie to prove he was telling the truth. He also posted alleged DMs between them, but they were quickly exposed for being photoshopped. Stitches had no evidence that he'd ever even been in the same room as Kylie, but he said in an interview that he hooked up with Kylie after he gave her some of his cocaine. Kylie was with Tyga at the time, and Stitches claimed he beat Tyga up after Tyga caught them together. There was no evidence that any of Stitches' story was true, and Kylie never even bothered to respond. Tyga also ignored it, but Stitches kept taking shots at him on Instagram and even offered $10,000 for his chain.
Hey, I got 10 racks on Tyga's chain, maybe even 50. Bring that shit to me, and I'm gonna give you some motherfucking cash.
Fans said that Stitches was just clout chasing because he had no reason to beef with Tyga in the first place. The diss backfired, and people started exposing Stitches and Ink Monster for faking DMs and making up a beef for clout. Stitches must have realized he messed up because he ended up deleting the Kyga She's a Liar video from YouTube. Around the same time, Stitches also told fans that he was battling with cancer, although he later said he beat it. Towards the end of 2015, Stitches finally dropped his debut album, For Drug Dealers Only, but by that point, Stitches' buzz had completely died down and no one really listened to the album. It didn't make it onto any charts and didn't have any viral singles. It seemed like Stitches' rap career was over, but that didn't stop him from continuing to drop tracks and start beef with other rappers. Around that time, Stitches supposedly ran into the Game in the VIP section of a club. Stitches wanted a picture, but the Game shut him down. So Stitches went on social media and posted alleged DMs that supposedly proved Game started the beef. Game eventually responded by saying he didn't know who Stitches was and denied sending him any DMs. But the Game did tell Stitches he was ready to run a fade with him whenever.
Number one, I ain't sent your ass no motherfucking DM. Number two, any nigga name that rhyme with bitches, ain't nobody fucking with you, nigga. You lame, your music whack, nigga, and I will put hands on you, nigga. I ain't sent you no message. You a fucking fan, nigga.
Stitches kept taking shots at the Game on social media and even dropped a diss track called Game Over. On the song, Stitches went at the Game and also took a shot at Tyga and Young Thug, rapping, "I ain't got no sympathy for pussy niggas. Tyga and the Game, they some pussy niggas. And you beefing with Young Thug, he weigh 80 pounds. Fuck with a real thug, you get 80 rounds. And I understand why 50 Cent dropped you from the G Unit. The Game, he used to be a stripper. Game over, game over. Seeing my gang taking over." So, Stitches was going all in, and this time, he actually got a response. The Game also took a shot at him in a radio freestyle, rapping, "I ain't fucking with you niggas, I ain't fucking with you bitches. Wait till I catch up to that boy Stitches." Shots were being taken on both sides, which was bringing more attention to Stitches and his music. Stitches kept up the momentum by dissing the Game on social media and being as disrespectful as possible. He even went at the Game's kids and said they probably didn't respect their dad.
"Man, the Game is a pussy ass nigga who won't even meet me up. I bet your kids don't even call you daddy, they probably call you pussy nigga."
So, the beef was getting out of control, and it seemed like only a matter of time before something happened. In December 2015, Game was at Story nightclub in Miami when Stitches pulled up and tried to confront him. Stitches claimed that Game told security not to let him into the club, so he waited outside until he came out. Stitches kept taunting the Game on Snapchat and even spit on his G-Wagon in the parking lot.
"Look what I do since you don't want to come out, pussy nigga."
But Stitches didn't have the same energy when the Game eventually came out. Game was with his manager, Whack 100, who's a respected Piru Blood gang member. Whack 100 heard that Stitches was spitting on their cars, so he went over to talk to him and find out what the issue was. At the time, Stitches was being questioned by the cops because he was acting crazy and kept driving back and forth past the club. Stitches had his hands on the front of his Porsche, but when he saw Whack walking toward him, Stitches jumped up and pushed the cops away from him. Stitches walked right toward Whack in the Game with 3 other dudes and started cursing them out. But as soon as Stitches got close to him, Whack hit him with a brutal punch and sent him straight to the ground. Stitches is a huge dude, and Whack 100 knew he had one shot to knock him out or they could be in trouble. But he landed the perfect punch and knocked Stitches out cold. Whack then squared up to fight the 3 other dudes behind Stitches, but the cops thought Whack was about to keep attacking Stitches, so they hit him with the taser. After that, the cops took him all to jail. Whack had a few $100s in his pocket, so he bribed the guard to let him catch a fade with Stitches' crew while they were still in the county jail. The guard agreed to let them all into the same area, but Stitches' friends didn't want any smoke. They told Whack they didn't know what Stitches was about to do and didn't want any problems. TMZ ended up releasing the video and it instantly went viral. The Game immediately reacted to the situation and clowned Stitches on social media. The entire internet was making fun of Stitches for talking tough and getting knocked out on video. It immediately killed his street cred, and no one still believed that Stitches was the hardcore drug dealer he claimed to be. During the fight, Stitches was arrested for weed possession and resisting arrest. Then a few days later, Stitches was also jumped by his own people for causing problems with Whack 100.
Yeah, I got sucker punched the other day. Ain't nobody hiding their face. And I got jumped by my own niggas yesterday. Nigga, all y'all pussy. This dog right here is harder than all y'all. He can do more damage than all y'all. Y'all pussy.
Whack was cool with some important people in Miami. So after the fight, he made some calls to find out what was going on. Whack's associates told him it would be taken care of, and a few days later, Stitches was jumped again by his own crew. Stitches and the Game continued taking shots at each other on social media. Stitches said that Whack sucker punched him, and he still wanted a fair fight with the Game.
"Man, this pussy ass nigga named The Game always wanna write on Instagram and Twitter that he gonna fuck niggas up. You ain't gonna fuck Young Thug up. You ain't gonna fuck me up, nigga. You ain't no boxer, bro. We saw when you fought 40 Glock. You can't even throw a punch, you pussy ass nigga."
But the Game just kept clowning Stitches and reposting the knockout video. There were even rumors that Game and Stitches might actually fight each other in a celebrity boxing match, but that never ended up going down. and fans slowly started to forget about the beef. After that, Stitch's career was never the same. He must have realized that beefing with the game wasn't gonna help him pop off in the rap game. So, he did a complete 180 and linked up with Wack 100. Wack announced on Instagram that he talked to Stitches and they settled the issue. Wack even announced that he was Stitch's new manager and they had new music on the way. Stitches also later apologized to the game and took back what he said about his kids not respecting him as a father. Stitches claimed he was addicted to drugs at the time and wasn't thinking straight.
I like his music, all right? And he's a good father. I respect that. Me and that man had a misunderstanding that was really over nothing. At that point in my life, I was on an 8-ball a day, a pint of lean, 10 Percocet, Xanax, all these drugs. See, I was there, but I really wasn't there. I was willing to die for something that really didn't even matter.
But it still didn't help his career, and the relationship with Wack 100 never really went anywhere. So, by that point, Stitches had completely fallen off. He never had another song that lived up to the hype of Brick in Your Face, and all the stories of him being a fraud made his music less and less believable. And Wack 100 knocking him out was the final nail in the coffin that killed his rap career. In 2016, Stitches tried to find a new lane and become more of an influencer/Vine star. Stitches started making Instagram and Vine videos around his character of being a crazy cocaine dealer while shouting the catchphrase, "Fuck a job."
So the other day when the cops pulled me over, one of them asked me, what gang you in? I said the one that gangbanged your mama! Fuck a job!
Even though it didn't revive his music career, the skits helped Stitches maintain some relevance on social media, and he was able to keep going on tour off his hit song, Brick in Your Face. While he was trying to pop off as an influencer, Stitches had his last viral hit after he remixed Adele's song, Hello, and called it 1 Million Dimes. The song actually took off and got millions of views. It seemed like Stitches was back to making hilarious trap bangers instead of trying to prove he was the hardest rapper in the world, which is why fans liked him in the first place. Over the years, Stitches kept releasing music and entertaining his fans on social media. He wasn't in the spotlight anymore, but he still had fans who were rocking with his content. But behind the scenes, Stitches wasn't in a great place mentally. He was heavily addicted to lean and cocaine, and his behavior was getting more and more wild. It all came crashing down when Stitches was arrested on gun and drug charges in 2017. Stitches was at a Whole Foods in Miami when someone snitched on him for parking in the handicap spot. When the cops came to question him, Stitches immediately handed them a blunt he just rolled. The cops asked if he had any weapons in the car, and Stitches claimed he didn't. But after they searched the car, they found a Glock under the driver's seat and a jar full of weed. While they were arresting Stitches, the cops also found pills in his pockets, which only added to the charges. Somehow Stitches didn't get much in trouble for the arrest and got off of community service. But he said it was a wake-up call that he needed to get sober. After getting clean, Stitches admitted he regretted a lot of his past behavior, like starting beef with Tyga in the game. Stitches said the drugs made him do it, and now that he's sober, he wants to change his life for the better. Stitches told his fans that he was completely done with selling drugs and wanted to take his life and music in a more positive direction. He even continues to release music that was more inspirational and talks about wanting to get his life together and be a better father to his kids. For a while, it seemed like Stitches had really turned his life around and found a new lane in music. But sadly, it seemed like he eventually went back to his old ways. In 2022, Stitches was arrested in Bay Harbor Islands, Florida for cocaine possession and shooting a gun. Stitches was arrested after he called the police himself and claimed he saw 4 people in his building. When police arrived, they could tell Stitches was high because he wasn't making any sense. Stitches was rambling and told the cops that he didn't have problems with anyone and only called them because he was outnumbered and couldn't fight. When police searched the building, they didn't find any intruders, but they did find plenty of cocaine. So, Stitches was the only one arrested and charged with felony cocaine possession. He was also hit with a misdemeanor charge for either possessing or discharging the firearm. After spending the night in jail, Stitches posted a $6,000 bond. The charges were dropped a month later after the cops failed to send the cocaine to the crime lab for testing. But it seems pretty clear that Stitches is no longer sober and may be going down a bad path. Stitches has been pretty quiet after the arrest. He still drops music every once in a while, but none of his latest tracks lived up to the success of Brick in Your Face. Stitches blew up by pretending to be the hardest rapper of all time, but when he couldn't live up to that image and had to start beefing with other rappers for clout, fans quickly started to lose interest until he fell off completely.